Hello, my wonderful friends. Welcome if you're new, and welcome back if you've been here before. My name is Sarsana, and we are going to be wrapping up August. So I read approximately 12 books in the month of August. I had some personal things going on, so I couldn't read as much. But I'm still actually surprised that I managed to read this many books. But regardless, it doesn't matter about the quantity, it matters of the quality. We are going to start with the only thriller that I read last month, and that is The House Across the Lake by Riley Sager. I was thoroughly disappointed by this book. The ending was a complete flop for me. Like, the first 60, maybe even 70% of the book was very intriguing, had me at the edge of my seat. I was really excited to find out the mysteries that were being told in this book. But then the ending just, I did not enjoy that little twist. I felt like that was out of context. I felt like that was misplaced. Like, I believe in some of the things that had happened in this book that can happen in real life, I guess. But at the same time, it just felt out of context for me. And it made it really hard for me to like this book. It was a 3 stars. I'm glad I gave it a chance and I read it, but this was like my first Riley Sager book. So I'm a little bit nervous to read any of his other books. Do you guys have any recommendations on books by Riley Sager that don't have the kind of ending that this one did and something a little bit more in context? I can't say it without saying it, you know? So if you read this, you know what I mean, right? I hope you do. So if you have something like that by Riley Sager, I'd love to give him another chance, but this has really put me off. However, I can see why some people love it. Like, my boyfriend's mom loved this book, and there's so many people that I know love this book, which is totally fine, and you may love this book, but I just didn't. Okay, so moving on. And then I am just extending my torture. Like, I am torturing myself every month by giving a little piece of this to myself every single month. So I read another Brandon Sanderson book, and that is The Well of Ascension. This is the second book in the Mistborn trilogy in the first era. And my goal this year was to read the first 3 books in the Mistborn saga and then finish out the Stormlight Archives. The 4th book is Rhythm of War, and I want to read it before Wind and Truth comes out so I can have the full experience. This book, the way it ended, was torture. I cannot wait to start The Hero of Ages, the 3rd book, and the final book in the first arc of the Mistborn trilogy. I can't tell you guys what goes on in this without spoiling it because it is the 2nd book in the series and there's so much that happens, but like the plot, the world building, the found family, the romance, the friendships, like there's so much in here that is just exquisite. Brandon Sanderson's writing is phenomenal. I love him so much, and I don't know what else to say. Like, I have no words. This is high fantasy, so it's not a romantasy. There isn't a lot of romance and spice that goes into it. There is a lot of plot and a fantastical magical system. And if you haven't read the first Mistborn book, then just know that the magical system is based off of individuals consuming metals and having these magical powers that allow them to do extraordinary things like flying and jumping super high or running for hours at a time, and just incredible. It is just incredible, and I cannot wait to be back with Vin and Ellen and the crew this month because it is August and I can read the 3rd book this month. And then I had the pleasure of reading the Letter of Enchantment series by Rebecca Ross. So the first book we have is Divine Rivals. She's stunning. We love her. And then we have Ruthless Vows. She's also stunning, beautiful. I absolutely devoured these two books. Usually I have a hard time continuing to read a series like one after the other. I need like a palate cleanser in between sometimes, and these were devoured. I inhaled them, I consumed them, I took them into my soul. I don't know how else to tell you guys, but these two books will forever be an absolute favorite for me. I was in love with Divine Rivals when I first read it, and I loved Iris and Roman. They are so adorable. Their love for one another was so beautiful. The writing was lyrical, it was magical, it was whimsical. When I was reading the story, I felt like I was inside the story. I felt like I was one of these characters. I felt like I could visualize everything perfectly. Rebecca Ross's writing is so beautiful, and it makes you feel like you are a part of her story. If you haven't read this series, please pick it up. Like, what are you doing? You need to read this. If you're a romantasy person, if you love romantasy books, you need to get your hands on these and read them, please. I gave Divine Rivals 5 stars because it was just absolutely beautiful, and the ending made me throw this book, but I didn't, you know, because it's super beautiful from Fairy Loot. Thank you, Fairy Loot. I can't even tell you, like, I was going feral when I finished this book because I needed to know what happened next. And I think I finished this at like 12 in the morning or something on a weeknight. I picked up Ruthless Vows right afterwards because I needed to know what was going on. And this book, I don't even know what to say about it. Like, I don't hate it, but at the same time, I didn't love it as much as Divine Rivals. However, everything that I said before about it being whimsical and magical and wonderful and all that, it is so good. It is very good. However, the plot twist with like the whole gods situation, there was like absolutely no magic or anything like that in book 1 in Divine Rivals. Like, there were certain like whimsical things about like a magical typewriter or sending letters and stuff like that. It wasn't anything crazy like fairy magic. The stuff about the gods, it just felt left field to me. I know we got little snippets of it in Divine Rivals, but like the way it came in full force in this book, I don't know how I feel about it. Like, I just didn't enjoy it. It just felt out of context for me. Besides for that, the plot and everything, the love story, the friendships, and the world building, I did enjoy it, and it was a lot of fun. So this got 4 stars from me. And then I continued the Legacy series by Maddox Gray. Thank you again, Maddox, for sending me these books. I love them. I read 4 of these books. I am trying so hard not to read them all because I have them and they're just so much fun. I want to finish them. I think I have like 2 more books left in this. Yeah, I have 2 more books left in this series, but I don't want to finish it because the next book doesn't come out until next year, and next year seems so far away. And I read these really fast, you guys. They're not super long or anything like that. Like, this is like 4 books right here. This is the novella. This is the prequel novella. When I first read the first book, I felt like I was missing pieces, and this is what I was missing. So if you're gonna start the series, like, read the prequel. You'll need it. It's not a necessity, but if you're like me and you need to, I guess, understand the backstory or the background of certain things, you might want to read this. If you're one of my girlies that read Assassin's Blade before Throne of Glass, then you might want to read that. So I gave A Shift in Darkness 4 stars because it's a prequel. Very short. I felt like a lot of my questions were not answered from reading this, but I'm sure, or I am hoping, that they will be answered throughout the rest of this series. And this basically gave us a little bit more background on Nemain and certain things that she had done in this book we see throughout the rest of the series. So it's sort of like Assassin's Blade, and get more context as far as what the characters you're seeing in the later books. It like makes it more personal. And then A Shift in Fate, it picks up right after A Shift in Shadows, the first book, and Nemain is getting over what had happened in the first book. So from the things that happened in the first book, A Shift in Shadows, there are some things that trickled over into this book because certain things are not complete, certain mysteries have not been solved. So Nemain and friends have found more information for the secrets that they were searching for. They happen to come across another assignment where Nemain has to locate a little boy who has an extreme amount of power, something like they have never seen before, and they kind of go on this little journey to locate him. The stuff they find out, it trickles down into like the later books, but it's absolutely madness. It's a fun old time. I would say this is sort of like a cozy fantasy in a way, but like with high stakes. When you're reading it, you get really adorable found family kind of feelings. Nemain is also a total badass with a sharp tongue. She doesn't hold back on the things she says, and she is absolute chaos, but in like the best possible way. I gave this 5 stars because it gave me everything I was looking for when I read it. And then the third book, A Shift in Fortune, is very tiny, and this book is in Bryn's POV. We meet her in book 2, A Shift in Fate, and how she comes into her powers, how she is making a home for herself with Nemain and friends. She has also come into some responsibility, and she is learning a way to understand her magical powers. She is learning how to be her newer self and how to handle those responsibilities. So it was a quick, sweet read, and there is a little bit of romance in it that I was just holding on to, and I can't wait to see how Bryn and her significant other relationship grow. I did give this a 4 star. It just felt too short for me. I wanted to have a little bit more, but it was a really good read. I would read it again. And then next, I read the 4th book, A Shift in Ashes. This did not disappoint. This is from Nemain's point of view. We learned so many things in this book, and things are like starting to make more sense and like getting a little bit more wrapped up. Mind you, we still have 2 more books, I believe. I'm having a jolly old time. I'm trying to pace myself because I want to know what happens next. But this book, things start to get a little bit more spicy. The romance is starting to really get heated up. There's a lot of tension. Maddox Gray knows how to be a total tease because we are 4 books in and I have yet to see our MMC and our FMC together. It's very frustrating. So I gave this 5 star. I can't really go too much into it because I will spoil you guys, and that's the best I can do with Lost Legacy series so far. And then I had the audacity to start yet another series. So I started Jade City by Fonda Lee, and this has been on my TBR forever, you guys, and I've really wanted to start this book, and you know what? It did not let me down. Jade City, wow. Just wow. The magic system is absolutely bonkers. I think it's so cool. I know that jade is very popular amongst Asian cultures. It represents virtue, kindness, wisdom, justice, and so much more. And this is literally what I've gotten from doing like a basic Google search because I needed to educate myself. Jade is very meaningful in the Asian culture, and for us to have this beautiful stone represented as a magical element, if you will, in this beautiful book by Fonda Lee, it was just so educational in a way, but also very fun. They have like these mobs and they like own the city, or they have like their own territories, and these gang members, they have like hierarchies and authority figures within like their gangs, and it's just so cool. I love a good fictional mob book. The way that this was done was just like so epic. I love the fact that we have a mob kind of book where magic is also used, and I just thought that it was so much fun, and it was so well done. It was very easy to consume. I did have a little bit of a hard time in the beginning when I first started reading it to understand the magical system, but that's just me. I don't know why, it just like took me a minute to like get my bearings, but when I did, I was consuming it. This is almost like a 500-page book. It was just a really good high fantasy, if you will. I would say it's like almost a high fantasy. I don't know, but it was just a lot of fun. There wasn't a lot of romance in this. I don't know if we get more romance in the other two books in the Greenbone Saga. I know that it's a trilogy. The next one is Jade War, and then it's Jade Legacy. So I don't know what's gonna happen in those, but I hope it's a lot of fun. And I hope we get a little bit more romance in them. But right now, so far, we see like gang wars. There's found family and how loyalty is handled, and just like all good things that you would imagine is in between gang members, families that are in a gang. Everything that you can imagine, it's in this, but like throw in a twist of magic. I did give this 4 stars. Nothing bad. I just had a tough time with the magic system at first, understand it, and I feel like it could have been explained in a different way, or maybe it's just me, but I gave it a 4 stars. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Maybe if we had a little bit more romance or something in it, I would have been hooked to it, but it was good. It was really good. It was a 4 stars, and I'm really looking forward to reading the rest of the Greenbone Saga. Not too long ago, I did a video where I read the books that were recommended to me that are like popular series, and some of you guys had mentioned that I should read Quicksilver. I know that there's like controversial opinions about this book, but I absolutely devoured this book. It was so much fun. The magic system was so unique. Ceres is our FMC, and she can control metals. She's basically like an alchemist. She can use metals to create portals, which is just super cool. And basically Ceres lives in the desert. Water is very hard to come by. Where she lives, she's like basically in the slums, and the queen, she gives them water rations that's just not enough for them unless they like go and steal water to survive. And it's just insane the way that they have to live and the things that they have to survive. Ceres doesn't even like take a proper shower because water is just so hard to come by, and they would rather consume it than use it to wash their body. Ceres has a little brother whose name I just can't remember right now, but she's very protective over him, and she doesn't have any parents. She's an orphan. Her mother had passed away. Because of that, it left Ceres to take care of her little brother. She steals, she does crazy things to make money so they have food. They don't really have a roof over their heads. They're just kind of literally slumming it, trying to find safe areas for them to rest their head and sleep. In trying to protect her brother and doing what she does and stealing, basically, it gets her in a little bit of trouble. And with trouble, she meets Kingfisher, and he is our MMC. He is basically described as death incarnate. That's how Ceres saw him because of the situation that she was in. He portals her into the Feyland. She learns about this whole different world that's out there, and she learns about her magic. She grows into herself, and she grows into her magic. She understands who she is, what she can do with her magic. Her and Kingfisher's relationship was just so fun to read about. Her love story, it was just so good. And by the end of this book, I really want to read like the second book. I know that this is Callie Hart's first romantasy. She's a dark romance author, and I have to get my hands on her dark romance books because I enjoyed her writing so thoroughly. I just can't wait to pick up the next book. I gave this 5 stars. Love everything about it. And then in the same video that I read Quicksilver, I also read Lady of Darkness by Melissa K. Rorick. And in August, I also read Lady of Shadows by Melissa K. Rorick. It is the second book in the Lady of Darkness series, I believe. This is very similar to Throne of Glass, I would say. Our FMC, she's very much like Aelin. Her name is Scarlet. She has been trained by an assassin lord, and she wields darkness. It's so cool. I don't want to give you guys too much because I'm into 4th book now. Scarlet is very protective over her loved ones, and she will do anything to protect them. She is a part of this trio of Death's Maidens. So basically her and her sisters, they're not really her like biological sisters, but they grew up together by training with the assassin lord, and they all have assassin skills where they go and assassinate whoever they are assigned to assassinate. Scarlet does her research before she kills whoever she needs to kill. She doesn't just go on blind and do it. her and the Assassin Lord have a few disagreements. Something traumatic happens to her before book 1 takes place. Because of that, her and the Assassin Lord's relationship is estranged, and he's giving her space to grieve for what had happened. Scarlet has to take a potion to take care of this illness that she has. I don't want to say anything else about it because I don't want to spoil you guys, but if you haven't read this series, please read it. I gave Lady of Darkness 4 stars, and I gave Lady of Shadows 4.5 stars, and they were just such a fun read. I can't wait to read the rest of the books in this series. I only have 2 more books left, and I'm dreading finishing these books. But Melissa K. Rorick has easily become one of my favorite authors so far for romantices. I know that she has other series that are coming out or that are out already. I'm going to have to check those out because it's just so good. This month has been by far one of my most stressful and traumatic months that I have ever had to deal with in life, but at the same time I had my books to escape to, and this is what a lot of us readers, I guess, read for, is to escape. And I am one of those people who read to escape real life. These books saved me from absolutely losing my mind. Not to get all emotional or anything, but I read some really good books this month and I had such a good time. I read so many different authors and I discovered some favorites this month, some new authors that are probably going to be auto-buy authors now. If you guys have any recommendations for any other romantices like Lady of Darkness or Quicksilver, go ahead and shoot it my way. I hope you guys had a wonderful August month. You guys had a healthy and happy month full of reading and whatever that you like to do. And thank you so much for making time to watch this video. I hope you guys are doing well, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye.